And I've come to the place where I'll be reading you Ezekiel Kralen's latest installment of his ongoing story about such and whatnot. Boaz, A Ticking Time Bomb is the title of this. Ezekiel Kralen wrote. Email correspondence, May 31st, last year. Subject, Who did this? Who did this? Continued. Time, night's gloomy shade. As he entered the lobby, and I followed, he turned to me again, this time several steps from up the stairway. I'm a federal employee, and this is what I have to put up with when I come home. This is disgusting. I didn't move back to this neighborhood for this. Well, la-di-da, you're a federal employee, aren't you? The big cheese on the block, I was tempted to say, but kept my mouth shut as he resumed his climb. I waited till he reached the first landing before setting foot on the stairs myself, but when I did, he turned to me again and hollered, This building is shit! I didn't move back to this neighborhood for this crap! Well, it's been like this for decades, both the building and the hood, so you should have known better. I almost blurted out with the sarcasm of a nun who's just been raped by bats from the bell tower. Instead, I replied, I couldn't agree more. He briskly stormed down the hallway and turned the corner to his apartment, which Myrtle and Son once occupied, and where now live, right across from him, Carlson and Scooter, of all people. He also has problems with rodents infesting his domicile. I know because he told me a couple of weeks back, not to be all new agey on you, old chap, but I'd say he's got some serious karma to work out and is right where he needs to be to do just that, if he ever cares to take up the challenge. Besides which, that time we first met, back in late March, and he abruptly stopped me at the gate with a flurry of pushy questions. I sensed an aggressive nature in him, and now, thanks to last night's encounter, my assumption has just been affirmed. You got a short fuse, dude, I loudly barked before he closed the door behind him. Anger is never the way to handle anything, no matter your frustration. Ha ha, no, I didn't, Watson. I just thought it would be fun to put you on the edge of your fainting couch for a second, but I now surmise that we have a ticking time bomb federal worker in our building. And, of course, he has to live just a few doors down from yours truly, knows my name and where I live, even knows my mailbox where he could drop something off of an explosive nature should he decide I shouldn't be out there with my homeless friend who often dumps debris in his wake, and he's already seen me out front with the hounds a few weeks ago, though flashed me a bright smile at the front gate before taking off for a jog. I hate to consider this, but maybe Chihuahua Man is ganging up with other residents to terrorize the doggies until they'll be too scared to approach my building. They could step outside while Deke is there, or me, sitting the pups, and start screaming high hell and traumatize my furry angels, so perhaps Boaz's little drama out front was their first attempt to scare me from having Deke visit, make me think better of it out of fear for what might come next. I know how wicked these queens can be. It would be just like 'em to do that. They slip under the legal radar and do their dirty work, shades of my friendly ghost detective tales. Who knows what gossip C.M. may have spread already, and don't forget my snooty young neighbor next door who spied on me last year, per Kevin's request. I'm kind of surrounded. And here I was worried about Carlson inviting a vagrant dope addict and other sketchy visitors into my building, when all the time the greatest danger lurks among some of the residents themselves, and it's always been that way. There have always been 2 or 3 people bad-mouthing me to others, including whoever is manager. In spite of the high turnover, the gossip spills over to new occupants. It only takes one to do that, and I sure had my ultimate protagonist in one whom I call my quasi-fascist neighbor down the hallway, who has since passed on after living here for almost 24 years. Talk about being brought down by talk about being brought down from my manic high yesterday afternoon. This and something earlier that occurred, also unpleasant, and of course it was Deke's doing. He showed up around 9 p.m. and parked himself in the pooches by the parking meter as usual. He had some clothing laid down by his granny cart for the dog's comfort, or so I presumed. I brought them dinner and plunked down beside them, whereupon their master engaged me in pleasant conversation. But not for long. All of a sudden he turned to Flacco and said, "Hey, that's my jacket," and crudely yanked it from under her, upon which she jumped away. I pulled her into my arms and admonished him. "Don't do that, Deke. She's a sweet little doggie. Always be kind to her." "Don't tell me how to raise my dogs," he snarled. "You're just their uncle, not their owner." It's heartbreaking when you do stuff like that, I rebutted, and disgusting. Be gentle. Pick her up and take your jacket. She was just resting there, happy to be with us. She has nothing but love for you. Right, easy to say, he sniffed. Try living with them 24/7, see how you like it. They're always running around, getting in trouble, biting everyone who walks by. Bullshit, Deke. They're the sweetest dogs I ever met, and when I've had them over, they've always been the nicest company and never gave me a hard time. You're fucked up in the head talking like that. Something's really wrong with you if you're not always happy to have them by your side. See, now you're cussing me out. I came here for a friendly visit, but you always start arguments, he countered. Not true, I retorted. I'm pissed at you for being mean to Flacco like she did something wrong. She didn't. Well, then he went off on a rant how I royally screwed up having the dogs visit me. He knows some people who live in my building who've told him the dogs were a big problem, running through the hallways day and night, up and down the stairs, biting people, and why can't I have them over anymore if I won both lawsuits, blah, blah, blah. I've already explained to you many times, I replied, but I will explain again, and it's simple. Some wicked people live there, including a senile old manager. They hate the homeless, so hate me too for being their advocate. So when I had these darling pups over, they cooked up a scheme to harass me. But he still persisted in his attacks, during which time I excused myself for a minute to bring down a sleeping bag for his charges. By the time I returned, he had calmed down, actually mocking these idiots who bad-mouthed me to him, and he even expressed great gratitude for my being such a good friend and so kind to his dogs. I think he felt bad for his vulgar outbursts. To be continued.